If I told you that over the last 20 years, 25 full work weeks have just been stolen from your calendar every single year, you would probably panic.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anyone would.
Right. But that is exactly what has happened to our social lives. Young people today spend nearly 1,000 fewer hours a year with friends than they did, just 2 decades ago.
Wow.
Yeah. 1,000 hours of human connection just gone. Welcome to the deep dive. If you are joining us today, you are the learner. You're someone who wants to look past the surface of everyday life to understand the mechanics underneath. And today, we are decoding a massive, quiet crisis.
Yeah, it really is a quiet crisis.
It is the exhaustion, the difficulty, and the sheer loneliness of adult friendship.
It's an invisible epidemic, honestly.
Right.
And to unpack the mechanics of it, we are pulling from this really fascinating conversation with Kasley Killam.
Right.
She's a public health expert out of Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And our mission here is to decode why maintaining friendships currently feels like a second job.
It really does feel like work sometimes.
Exactly. And we want to map out the science-backed playbook for what she calls our social health. But to do that, we have to entirely discard the idea that friendship is just, a mood booster or a weekend luxury.
Yeah.
The source material demands we view human connection as a strict biological requirement for survival.
Okay, let's unpack this because the framing changes everything.
It does.
The sources use the analogy of a Greek temple to describe human well-being, built on 3 pillars, right? Physical, mental, and social health. We obsess over the first 2, but we just kind of let the social pillar crumble.
We completely ignore it.
But I want to push on that, though, because we live in an era of hyperconnectivity. I mean, I can text someone instantly. I see my friends' milestones on social media. I have food delivered, so I don't even have to interact at a grocery store.
Right. Modern conveniences.
Yeah. It feels like we are constantly snacking on social updates. So are these digital conveniences just acting as, junk food for our social diet? We feel full from the scrolling, but we are actually biologically malnourished.
That is exactly it. The data strongly supports that analogy. You are consuming empty social calories.
Empty calories. Wow.
Yeah. And the biological cost of that specific malnourishment it's actually measurable. Consider this landmark study highlighted in our sources, where researchers tracked a group of people for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And they measured their daily social support and specifically literally counted, how many physical hugs they received.
Wait, hugs?
Yeah, physical hugs.
Yeah.
Then they deliberately exposed these individuals to a cold virus.
Wait, hold on. A hug doesn't physically block a pathogen from entering your respiratory system?
No, of course not.
The virus is still getting in,
Yeah.
so the protection has to be an internal change to the immune response itself, right? Is the social contact altering how the body fights off the invader?
Yes, exactly. It is altering the immune response at a foundational level. The individuals with higher social support and more frequent hugs were significantly less likely to actually develop the cold.
That is wild.
And those who did get sick, they exhibited far milder symptoms. The mechanism here is the body's chemical response to isolation versus connection.
Okay, break that down for me.
So when you are isolated, your brain perceives a lack of a tribe as an evolutionary threat.
Like a tiger is going to eat me because I'm alone.
Precisely. Which triggers a chronic stress response. Your body gets flooded with cortisol. And sustained cortisol suppresses your lymphocytes, your white blood cells.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it increases baseline inflammation, leaving your immune system severely compromised.
Well, the connection, the hug, is doing the exact opposite.
Right. Connection releases dopamine and oxytocin, which actively downregulate the nervous system and act as a physiological shield against that cortisol.
So it's literally protecting you.
It is. Chronic loneliness isn't just sad. It increases your mortality risk by up to 53%.
Wait, really? 53%?
Yes. Biologically speaking, it is as dangerous to your lifespan as smoking or obesity.
A 53% increase in mortality. That is staggering. But, okay, if a lack of connection is literally destroying our cellular health, how does the body warn us?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because when my blood sugar drops, I feel hungry. When I'm dehydrated, I feel thirsty. Does the brain have a dedicated alarm system for social malnourishment?
It does. And it uses the exact same alarm system as hunger.
Seriously?
Yeah. In a brilliant neuroscience study, researchers compared the brain scans of 2 groups. One group fasted entirely for a day.
Okay, no food.
Right. The other group was placed in total social isolation for a day. No contact.
Wow. Okay.
When they looked at the functional MRIs, The exact same midbrain region, specifically the centers associated with intense craving and dopamine regulation, they lit up in both groups.
That is incredible.
It really is. Loneliness is not a personal failure or a character flaw. It is a biological cue screaming at you to go acquire vital nutrients.
But there's a massive paradox here.
How so?
Well, when I feel hungry, my drive is to immediately go to the fridge and eat, right? It's an active pursuit. But when we feel lonely, human nature tends to do the exact opposite. We withdraw.
Yes, we do.
We assume our friends are busy, we assume they don't want to share from us, and we isolate further. Why would our biological alarm system drive us away from the very food we are starving for?
So this comes down to an evolutionary mismatch. Thousands of years ago, if you were separated from your tribe, you were highly vulnerable to predators.
Right.
In that state of isolation, your brain enters a state of hypervigilance. You become hypersensitive to social threats and ambiguous signals.
Oh, so you're constantly scanning for danger.
Exactly. So today, if a friend takes 3 hours to text you back, your hypervigilant, lonely brain interprets that not as, oh, they're in a meeting,
But as a direct threat, like they're rejecting me.
yes. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy where you withdraw to protect yourself.
Which brings us to the social muscle framework from the sources. We have to actively rehabilitate our social drive.
We do.
It makes me think of physical therapy. If you've been in a cast for 6 weeks, you don't just jump into a marathon. You have to do targeted, uncomfortable movements to rebuild the atrophied tissue.
That's a great analogy.
And the framework outlines 4 steps: stretch, rest, tone, and flex. Stretching is forcing yourself into new environments to build new ties. Toning is taking superficial connections and actively deepening them. Flexing is sustaining those deep bonds.
And you cannot overlook the second step, rest.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Because social health isn't just about infinite socializing. Being overconnected or stuck in draining, superficial interactions also degrades the muscle. You have to balance connection with intentional, restorative solitude.
Let's focus on that concept of rest for a second, because I think it gets weaponized.
Weaponized, how do you mean?
Well, in the survey data discussed in the sources, 73% of people admitted they actively cancel plans just to stay home.
Ah, yeah.
And I will happily admit I struggle with this. Say it's a Friday night, I have plans with old friends who live a 45-minute drive away, I've had a brutal week at work, my brain feels fried, and I start rationalizing.
I'll do it.
I tell myself I need to protect my peace. I put on sweatpants, cancel the plans, and scroll short-form videos on my couch.
Yep.
So where is the line between legitimately resting a fatigued social muscle and just making an excuse that leaves me more isolated?
You are hitting on the core of the stress buffering hypothesis. We have to distinguish between a clinical need for rest and a behavioral excuse.
Okay, what's the difference?
If you are experiencing medical-level burnout, perhaps from intense caregiving, profound grief, or severe physical exhaustion, your body requires literal rest.
Right, true exhaustion.
However, canceling on supportive, fulfilling friendships because of baseline, everyday work stress is almost always an excuse.
Because my brain is tricking me into thinking the socializing will require energy I don't have, when in reality the socializing is the energy source.
Precisely. Social connection is the biological antidote to the stress you're feeling. By staying on the couch, you are denying your nervous system the oxytocin required to clear the workweek cortisol out of your bloodstream.
Wow.
The source material shares a heartbreaking but really illustrative anecdote about a nurse caring for her dying father.
Oh, I remember this one.
She was so consumed by the physical and emotional toll that she became entirely isolated, eventually experiencing suicidal ideation.
Just terrible.
And what stabilized her wasn't getting more sleep. It was joining a support group with other caregivers. Sitting in a room and connecting over shared vulnerability actively halted her cortisol spikes.
We have the medicine sitting right on the counter, but we refuse to unscrew the cap because the effort feels too high.
Exactly.
There is another powerful story in the material about a person suffering from severe hormonal acne. They were canceling all their plans, refusing to leave the house because they were so insecure.
Yeah, hiding away.
But when they finally pushed through the discomfort, showed up, and just openly admitted to their friends how much they were struggling with their skin, the insecurity lost its power.
That is the biological mechanism of toning the social muscle in action. Sharing the messy, unpolished reality of your life allows you to be genuinely seen.
Right.
When you present vulnerability and it is met with acceptance rather than rejection, it intensely downregulates the amygdala, the brain's fear center.
But the fear center is working overtime for most people. We don't just cancel because we are tired. We cancel because of social anxiety. We
Absolutely.
sit in our cars before a gathering, spinning narratives that we are going to be awkward or that people are just tolerating our presence.
The data on this is incredibly validating, and it completely shatters the anxiety illusion.
I love this part.
The sources point to multiple studies on what is known as the liking gap. In one study, researchers paired up strangers for a conversation. Afterward, they separated them and asked two questions. How much did you like your partner? And how much do you think they liked you?
And what happened?
Across the board, people severely underestimated how much the other person enjoyed their company.
Because we project our internal monologue onto them. I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I just stumbled over my words. I sound like an idiot.
Exactly.
But the other person isn't hearing my internal monologue. They just see me nodding and engaging. And the researchers actually proved this with third-party observers, right?
They did. Independent observers watching the conversations could clearly identify the mutual warmth and connection. The only people blinded to it were the participants themselves, trapped in their own hypervigilance.
And a second study proved the bar for overcoming this is shockingly low. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, tell them about the second study.
Researchers asked participants to send a simple thinking of you text or a brief note of appreciation to someone in their network. Senders consistently assumed the message was trivial, or maybe even annoying.
Like they're bothering them.
Right. But the recipients reported feeling massively touched. The senders wildly underestimated the physiological and emotional impact of a basic text message.
It proves that you do not need to host an elaborately curated dinner party to move the needle on your social health. You just have to operate under the statistical reality that people like you more than you think, and send the text.
Let's turn this into an actionable playbook. We know the anxiety is lying to us. We know protecting our peace is often just an excuse to avoid a commute. What is the daily prescription for you, the listener, to actively rebuild this pillar of your health?
The sources outlined the 5-3-1 formula for social health.
Okay, 5-3-1.
The 5 stands for interacting with 5 different people each week.
Different people, like not just your spouse 5 times.
Right. Diversity of ties. The biological reason for this is cognitive flexibility. Maintaining a diversity of social ties, like talking to the barista, a coworker, an old college friend, a neighbor, it forces your brain to utilize different neural pathways and communication styles, which builds cognitive reserve.
That makes total sense.
The 3 dictates maintaining at least 3 deep, close relationships to provide your core emotional safety net.
Okay, got it.
And the 1 is aiming for 1 cumulative hour a day of social connection.
Okay, I have to challenge that 1 hour a day metric.
I thought you might.
For a listener who works 50 hours a week, commutes, tries to exercise, and maybe has kids, asking them to carve out a solid 60-minute block every single day to socialize sounds like a fast track to failure.
Oh, it is impossible if you view it as a continuous 60-minute block.
Okay, good.
The key to the formula is cumulative micro-moments using a go-for-connection-first rule. Think about the hidden margins of your day. Your meeting ends 5 minutes early. Usually you immediately open a browser tab or scroll your phone.
Guilty.
Instead, you use those 5 minutes to text a friend. When you're walking to your car, you call your mom for 10 minutes. A 10-minute phone call has been empirically proven to significantly reduce baseline loneliness.
Really? Just 10 minutes?
Just 10 minutes. Chatting with the cashier for 2 minutes counts. It is about swapping out empty digital calories for nutrient-dense micro-interactions.
It's reframing dead time into social time, but applying this formula also requires understanding your own biological capacity for socializing.
Yes, very true.
The sources identify 4 distinct friendship styles, which explain why different people hit their dopamine thresholds at different rates. First, you have the butterfly.
Ah, the butterfly.
This is the classic extrovert who thrives on frequent, casual connections. They gain energy from moving through a large room of people.
Then you have the wallflower. They have a lower threshold for stimulation. They prefer selective, infrequent connection. They tend to hang back in groups, but because they aren't expending energy talking to everyone, they are incredibly observant and make deeply empathetic listeners.
Third is the firefly. This one fascinated me. Fireflies enjoy infrequent but incredibly deep connections. They despise small talk and will bypass it entirely to get to the heavy, meaningful topics.
Yes, skipping right past the weather.
Exactly. But because they process that social data so intensely, they hit a hard wall and need a long refractory period alone to recharge.
Finally, the evergreen. Similar to the tree, they are on all year round. They require frequent, very deep connection constantly to feel secure and grounded.
That's a lot of energy.
It is. Understanding these styles prevents a lot of interpersonal friction. If you are an evergreen and your best friend is a firefly, their sudden need for a week of isolation isn't a rejection of you. It is just their nervous system regulating itself.
That is such a vital distinction. But regardless of your style, the friction really intensifies with long-distance friendships. When your best friend lives 3 time zones away, how do you practically maintain the 5-3-1 formula?
Long distance requires removing the logistical friction. The sources offer 3 specific tactics. First, lean into the micro moments we discussed. You don't need to align your schedules for a massive catch-up call.
Those take forever to schedule.
Right, so send a 30-second audio note while you make coffee, or a random photo. Let them hear your voice. Second, put your deeper interactions on autopilot.
Autopilot.
Set a recurring monthly calendar invite for a video call. The hardest part of adult friendship is the endless back and forth of when are you free?
Ugh, the worst.
Eliminate the scheduling phase entirely. Third, rethink how you allocate your travel. Many adults use all their vacation time exclusively visiting family. You have to actively prioritize traveling to be in the same physical room as your friends.
Which brings us back to the overarching mission of this deep dive. The mechanics of friendship aren't just social etiquette, they are biological imperatives.
They really are.
We've looked at the white blood cells, the dopamine cravings, the hypervigilance of loneliness, and the practical formulas to fix it.
And the most profound takeaway from all this research is the mutuality of social health. Think about the other pillars. If you go for a run to build your physical health, you are the primary beneficiary. If you go to therapy for your mental health, you are the one healing. It indirectly helps others, but the intervention is internal.
Yeah.
Investing in your social health is the only pillar that directly and instantaneously heals another person. When you push past the anxiety and send that text, you are lowering their cortisol exactly as much as you are lowering your own.
It's a shared cure. So what does this all mean? There's a great final story from the sources about Cameron, one of the producers of the interview.
Oh, this is a great story.
She was feeling the weight of isolation, heard this data, and decided to push through the initial cringe factor. She texted a neighbor she barely knew and asked her to dinner.
Very brave.
It felt incredibly awkward at first, fighting through that liking gap anxiety. But by the end of the evening, the neighbor thanked her profusely and invited Cameron to join her book club. That single micro moment of courage resulted in a community or 10 new friends.
The barrier to entry is entirely constructed in our own minds.
And that is the reality check for you, the listener. No one else can lift the weights for your physical health, and no one else is going to curate your social health. Society isn't going to hand you a community.
No, it won't.
It is entirely your responsibility to flex the muscle. But the tools to change your cellular biology, a quick text, assuming someone wants to hear from you, calling a friend on your commute, they are sitting right in front of you.
You have the agency to rewrite your biological reality today.
We established earlier that chronic isolation is just as lethal to the human body as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. So I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on, something that extends beyond your personal text messages.
Okay.
If we strictly regulate workplace safety to protect our physical health, if we ban indoor smoking to protect our lungs, and mandate hard hats to protect our skulls, what happens when we finally accept the science of social health?
Oh, wow.
Is it time we start looking at mandatory overtime, weekend emails, and always-on remote work cultures, not just as HR complaints, but as literal, life-threatening public health violations?
It completely reframes how we structure society.
Go feed your social health. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.